Hey guys, welcome. Hi everybody, thanks for joining. Hi Cam. Okay, sorry, I just gotta get my setup here. Hi guys, thanks for joining us. So good to see all of you. We haven't been live in a while. Hi Cam.
What's up? How are we doing,
How are
Annie?
you? Can you hear me okay?
I can hear you perfect. How am I coming through?
Awesome. You're great. I can hear you. If everyone who's joining us can just give us a little thumbs up that you can hear us, that would be ideal. Thanks, Cam, for joining us today. This is going to be really fun.
It's gonna be great.
I'm excited to have you on. I think there's a lot we can all learn from you. So let's get started. So for everyone joining us, guys, this is Cameron Seichter, class of 2009. Cameron has done a lot of things since graduating from Country Day. He's had roles in finance, which we'll talk about. He currently is the director of business development for a gym fitness studio in Chicago, right, Cam, called Runaway Fitness. But he
Yes.
also has an awesome personal brand and blog that he's created on Instagram, stuff like that. So we are excited to learn all about how you did that. I think there's tons of students that want to learn about that kind of thing. So thank you
Absolutely.
again for being on. So let's just go back to where it all began. So take us back to upper school, Cameron Seichter.
Mhm.
Yeah, what types of activities were you involved in? Sports, things like that. I know you are a captain of the football team, which, as you, I'm sure, are aware, just won another state championship. So
I
tell us just a little bit about you in high school.
yeah. First of all, shout out to the football team because congratulations. I read about you guys. Fantastic.
Mm-hmm.
Very jealous because I don't know if you remember, I graduated in 2009. We
Mm-hmm.
lost in the state championship 2 years in a row.
Right.
So
Mm-hmm.
still
Yes,
still
I
still
recall.
still losing sleep over it. But anyways, so I was a member of the football team at
Okay.
Country Day. We obviously were very good. Another thing that I was big for me at Country Day was I was a member of the newspaper club.
Okay.
So that's something
Daytimes.
that, yes, the Daytimes
Mm-hmm.
award winners across
Oh,
the
yeah.
board. I'm
Oh,
pretty
yeah.
sure.
You're definitely
Um,
right.
so that was actually great for me because that was kind of my introduction to writing. And
Okay.
that's where I really fell in love with writing. I think
Mm-hmm.
I wrote about just sports, but
Okay.
that continued on into college where I had a column in the paper at Miami University.
Wow.
And then, of course, I love writing, started a blog that we'll get into. Yeah, those were some things that I was doing. I was hanging out in the weight room a lot,
Okay.
doing that. So, and of course the lunchroom because we had great
Of
lunch.
course.
But
Yes.
yeah, that's what high school Cam was doing. So
Okay. I love
um,
that. All right.
yeah.
So interesting that you wrote for the Daytimes and that kind of inspired what you did in college. I love that. So you decided to go to Miami of Ohio.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about that decision-making process, kind of how you decided to go there. And then what was your transition like from DCD to Miami of Ohio? Was there anyone from your class that also went there?
I was the lone soul that went
Okay.
to Miami. I'm curious now if there's more Country
Yeah.
Day students that
Mm-hmm.
go there.
Yeah, no, I think there are.
Um, that's awesome. But anyways, for me, I was actually going to play football there. So I was going to play football there. I visited the campus and beautiful campus. It's in
Okay.
Oxford, Ohio. So located outside of Cincinnati. It's
Mm-hmm.
like you're driving through cornfields and then boom, beautiful campus. So
Right.
I was always interested in business as well. I knew I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to study business, so they still have a fantastic farmer school business.
Okay.
And then 2 weeks before football training camp, I was like, I don't really love football.
Oh,
I love training.
okay.
So I decided not to play football, but still decided to go the business route
Okay.
because I was interested in that. So DCDS definitely prepared me for that with obviously the curriculum and my time management there, and really just introducing me to so many
Yeah.
fantastic and talented people. So I was really used to kind of conversing with people from different backgrounds. So that was
Great.
fantastic.
So I love
But
that though, Kim, because I didn't know that you decided not to play football. I think that that's really cool that you essentially were like, okay, actually, this is not like what I'm interested in doing.
yeah,
And you just kind of took that leap of faith. So what went into your decision-making process there? Was that difficult for you?
it was a little difficult. There was like, the first semester or whatever, first year where I was kind of missing that like competitive itch,
Yeah.
if you will.
Hmm.
But for me, I just knew it wasn't a fit and that I
Yeah.
wanted to, focus elsewhere. And yeah, I just kind of made the decision and don't regret it. Don't regret it.
I
And
love
my,
that.
my mom was happy because,
Yeah.
less potential injuries, right?
Right, for
So.
sure, for sure. So, but then you also decided to study finance. So, was that something you knew you always wanted to study, or did you decide that once you got to college?
So I decided that so when you went to Miami, you took first year or two, you just did like general business.
Okay,
Then you specialized after your sophomore
I
year.
see.
So
Okay.
after my sophomore year, I kind of knew I wanted to do more finance. I thought
Hmm.
about accounting initially, but wanted to kind of have more a client facing role, I would
Yeah,
say, in
that
my
makes
career.
sense.
So
Yeah.
that's why I steered more towards finance. But
Okay. And that's like one of your skills. So it's cool that you also identified like you wanted to be client facing and then you took the step to make sure that you were getting the education you needed to do that. Okay, great.
exactly.
So, before we get on to like social media stuff and things like that, a lot of DCDS students and current alumni in college are interested in careers in finance. So, can you kind of walk us through some of the jobs you've had since you graduated from Miami? Um, what advice do you have for students who are trying to land that first role in a finance career? And if if they did play a role, did your DCD network or Miami network play any type of did it have an impact in your job search or moving to Chicago and things like that?
Yeah, absolutely. All great questions. So I graduated in 2013 from Miami University, moved to Chicago.
Hmm.
I had a job here in commercial real estate. So it was in finance, accounting, and I was doing that for 3 years. So I was helping manage the books for, some large office buildings, apartment
Okay.
buildings, you name it. So large buildings. And then I was there for about 3.5 years. Then I moved on to do more senior living real estate. So
Okay.
any like assisted living homes,
Hmm.
independent living homes. So doing more asset management and acquisitions there. So a lot of
Got it.
like cash flow and underwriting and that stuff. So
Okay.
in terms of advice I would give to people that want to study in finance is obviously one thing that I did prior to graduating was I took an Excel course in cash flows and like modeling. And I'm not sure. Sometimes it's, obviously part of college curriculum, but
Right.
I think obviously that's very important in finance. So something I would recommend.
Right.
And actually, not my DCD network per se, but my Miami network was a large factor in me landing my first job. So
Hmm.
I would just say, keep it in touch with people, because
Okay.
obviously you never know who's gonna help
Right.
you out, and so important. And I would do the same for anyone that reached out to me and
For
helping them.
sure.
So just keeping close with that network because you're surrounded at DCD by so
Hmm.
many talented people, as we know. So
Cool.
take advantage of it. But
So, but like, how did you like actually get the job though? Like, did you go to like a career fair? Did you have an internship? Did you submit an application? Like,
yes,
what was your exact thing that you did?
so I got them through, I just submitted an application. What I
Hmm.
would say, if your college has a career fair, definitely take
Yeah.
advantage because I got a ton of leads through that.
Okay.
I think some people maybe are a little intimidated sometimes because
For
you're
sure.
you're going and you're talking to like all
Hmm.
these companies and you're like nervous.
Right.
But I would say it's definitely good to put yourself out there, just like with anything. And if your college offers it, definitely take advantage. So.
If you are nervous, do you think that people should practice before they go to something like that? Should they like talk to their parents, their friends about like their like pitch of who they are?
Yeah, it's the old look at yourself in the mirror. So I'm used to teaching group fitness where I'm teaching
Right.
50 people, and sometimes I'll just do that. I'll
Hmm.
practice in the mirror just
Wow.
to
Okay.
myself. So yes, definitely practice before your girlfriend, your parents, whatever,
Hmm.
whoever you trust, they'll help out. So,
Okay, great advice.
yeah.
Okay, so this is what I think is actually like one of the coolest elements about you, Cam, is that you had this career in finance and then you were like, wait, I really like group fitness. I like training. I like coaching. I like nutrition. I am going to just actually do this now. And you
Mhm.
took this leap into a different career path. So tell us about that. Like, walk us through your thought process there. Because I think this lesson is so important for so many people to hear, which is that like you might like have a great job, but you actually might be super interested in something else that you think you can make your full-time job. So tell us about that because I think it's really, really awesome that you did that.
Yeah, absolutely. No, I appreciate it. So I was working in corporate, still at
Hmm.
the senior living company, and
Right.
I always had this passion, as I said, for training. And I actually have Crohn's disease as well.
Right.
So that's something that I've dealt with and very diligent with my diet. So always into the nutrition, the health, the training aspect. And
Hmm.
I just started training on the side. So I started teaching group fitness classes at Title Boxing.
Yep.
So I'd kind of, it's funny because I'd be behind the computer all day doing my Excel, not really talking to many people, and then I'd
Hmm.
go teach like a 50-person class and like be yelling and stuff. So
Right.
for me,
Yeah.
it got to that point where when I woke up every day, I was like, what excites me? And I asked myself,
Hmm.
what am I good at? And what do I like to do? And am I doing those things? Am I spending time on those things? And I was telling myself, no, I'm not. So
Wow.
that's where I decided, to really take the leap. And luckily, again, kind of going off of trusting your network and putting yourself out there, I just
Yeah.
walked into a studio one day, introduced myself, brought my energy, brought my passion,
Hmm.
and with these owners, and they loved me, and they, were looking for someone to manage their studio as well as teach there.
Okay.
So it was fantastic because I can still kind of use my business background there,
Yeah.
as well as, the health piece where I'm doing group classes and teaching personal training. So
Hmm.
in terms of that, I would just say, again, like asking yourself, we think about finance and a lot of kids are like, oh, I need to make this much money and all like that.
Yeah.
But really asking yourself what your passion is, what your purpose
Hmm.
is. Are you doing the things, spending the time on things that excite you and that you're
Hmm.
good at?
Yeah.
So I think as long as you follow that and stay consistent with it, you're going to find success. So,
One thing I do just want to highlight though is that like you like really liked training and stuff, but you didn't realize maybe, and maybe I'm putting words in your mouth, so correct me if I'm wrong, but it seems like you kind of like took this on as your passion a little bit later after you had like been in finance, gotten some skills there, and like now you
absolutely.
can actually like really build out your business because of the skills you have from your previous work in finance, your education, your studies, and now you can actually pursue this passion in a way that actually is like lucrative for you.
Absolutely. You learn from any experience for sure. And
Hmm.
some of the things I do now is I do life coaching,
Yeah.
and I do it with a lot of the kids and the type of people that I used to work with that are
Hmm.
potentially like stressed out, that, work a
Yeah.
9 to 5 and have this type of lifestyle. So I know how they're feeling. Like I know how their
Right.
body is, what they're looking for. So yes, like I can bring those lessons and
Hmm.
translate them to now. So yeah, no matter where you're at, I'm 30 years old.
Hmm.
Age is not a number. Don't be afraid because you're, 27 years old that you
Right.
can't pivot, or even if
Hmm.
you're in college, you can't change your major. I would say
Yeah.
never, it's never too late. Never too late to make that change. So,
Love that. Okay, so let's now kind of jump to the social media content that you create because you
yes.
said this earlier with your coaching, like you can relate to the people that you're working with. And I think just from what I've seen from your social media, one of your goals is to make your content super relatable. You also mentioned you have Crohn's disease, and you spread awareness for that, which I think is great through your social media account. But your account, The Control Freak, is actually just like a very super, it's like a super positive, genuine, informative, but like kind of also funny outlook on fitness and training, and so
Yes.
and being your best self. So talk
Yes.
to us about how you took this account, how you grew it to what it is today, and why you wanted to create it.
Yeah. So I have an Instagram account. It's called The Control Freak. So a lot of people are like, oh my God, that's intimidating. But
Right.
really the idea behind it is around that health. So in your mindset, controlling the things that you control. So what do
Hmm.
you control? You control your fitness, your movement every day. You control what you eat, what you put in your body. You control your thoughts. So just like your fitness and your health, you can control what you're thinking. You
Hmm.
control all those things. So that's sort of the premise behind it. So a lot of the content I put out is in regards to that. And the reason that I wanted to sort of bring a humor, or a funny flair to it
Hmm.
was, if you're on social media or Instagram, a lot of times health, there's
Yeah.
like a stuffy, almost like
Very serious. Yeah.
stigma, like serious.
Hmm.
Sometimes you feel like you're being talking down to, and then
Hmm.
sometimes you're reading something and it's just going too into the weeds. You're lost. It's talking about like
Yes.
your heart rate going up to here, and you're like, I don't want to read this. So my goal with that was to
Right.
really make things relatable with the
Okay.
humor. So break down that stigma of, sort of the
Hmm.
stuffiness around health with that humor, but also provide information. So,
Right.
I'm a certified trainer, I'm a certified nutrition coach. So
Hmm.
still giving them that information that they're seeking, maybe
Yep.
not down to that like science book, Dr. Freed type of level. Does he still teach
Yeah.
there? I don't
Yeah.
know.
Yeah.
But still giving them those that bite-sized information, so they're
Okay.
having a takeaway. So that's my approach with it, and I love being authentic because I think
Yep.
that's what people relate with. They relate
Hmm.
with people that are being real, and there's a lot of fake out there. So being able to filter through it.
So you just touched on this a little bit with, being real and things like that, but your social media also has a very, like, if you guys were all go look at Cam's page after this, either this one or Wise and Grind, which we'll talk about in a second. It's a very defined look. It's a defined brand. The messaging is always very consistent with the way that you relate to your followers. So just from like a business perspective, and for anybody who's interested in using social media and things like that to create a personal or professional brand, how did you decide on like the fact that you wanted this to be your online persona? And why is it important that you kind of stick with this branding, I guess, for lack of a better word, throughout all of your posts?
Yeah. So I think with finding like your voice is so important. So for example, like within the health field, I noticed, or I think there's a gap in
Mm-hmm.
relatability, and there's not a lot of people that are bringing humor to it. So I think it's important to really, obviously be true to yourself, but think about
Mm-hmm.
whatever industry that you're in, and think about the opportunity, or the gaps that you can fill with your message. And in saying that, obviously being cognizant of the fact that everyone's watching. There's a lot of social
Mm-hmm.
media these days, so being
Yeah.
cognizant to keep things clean, keep things good, because you never know who's looking at what. So just always being aware of that. But in terms of your
Mm-hmm.
messaging, again, just staying authentic to your message. So kind of having like your value, purpose, proposition, if you will, saying, for me, I want to create awareness around health and wellness and
Mm-hmm.
help people with Crohn's disease. So kind of touching on those pillars, with different pieces of content and staying true to that.
Okay. So are you somebody who develops your content and the information you want to share like a week in advance, or is it more of like an on the fly thing where you're like, this is a really interesting topic, I'm going to write about this?
Yeah,
Or like you decide like I'm going to go live on Wednesday, I'm doing a post on Thursday, or is it
right.
just more like whenever you're feeling like
I'm
you
a
need to?
big one thing I've gotten better at, it was one of my New Year's resolutions, was
Okay.
planning. So
Okay.
for me, it's so big too with social, especially when you're
Mm-hmm.
doing video and you got to get pictures, to have a social media calendar. So that's what
Okay.
I do, is I'll map things out, maybe even 2 weeks, a month in advance.
Okay.
So you can say, you have a photo shoot or you're doing this with this person. You can get all of it in, and you don't have to like schedule another appointment with them, or you
Okay.
just know what's coming and you can prepare for it. So important. But in answering that, I'm a big believer in always learning. So always having that
Mm-hmm.
growth mindset, around whatever your goal is. So if I'm reading a book, or I'm listening to a podcast, or watching masterclass, which is like my new favorite thing,
Oh, it's the best.
and
I love
it's the
masterclass.
best. It's
So
the best.
interesting. Yeah.
but and I hear something that just resonates with me and I want to write about it, I write it down, pull out my computer and start writing. So
Right.
there are those like times when it's just by the moment and it's in my head and I got to get it down, but
Hmm.
it definitely helps to plan it out. Because as you know, content never sleeps. Your Instagram never
Right.
sleeps. It's always on.
Yeah,
So having that plan, I think, will create less anxiety for you.
I love that. Okay,
Yeah.
cool. So you just started this blog called Wise and Grind. I think you just
Yes.
started it. Seems relatively new.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
So I love the concept behind it because it's, again, if you guys all go look after, it's not just a bunch of inspirational posts, which is great, but it's actually like a ton of great information and content, which is also on the Control Freak platform too. But this is like, seems like a little bit more in depth. Um, so how do you like, where do you do your research to make sure that you're sharing accurate and the right information with your followers? And what made you want to extend your Instagram account into a blog?
Yes, absolutely. Great question. And thanks for the compliments, Annie.
Sure.
But anyways, wise and grind, kind of a play on words there. I don't know if you
Right.
got it. Rise and grind. So
We
we're
got it.
getting smart, but we're grinding at the same time.
Right.
But
Exactly.
anyways,
It's very country
the
day on brand of you.
the reason, so kind of to backtrack on your question, where I get a lot of the
Hmm.
information is went through a personal training certification, additional fitness certifications in corrective exercise, as well as nutrition. So a
Okay.
lot of my information comes from my certifications there. And then also just doing my own research. As I said, if I'm, listen to a podcast or doing this, I hear a topic, I write it down, and then I just do more digging. I do my own
Okay.
research, get into it. As I said, I love writing.
Hmm.
And Country Day was always big on bibliographies, so always citing my sources. So
Please
don't you
do.
worry.
Yeah.
But in terms of Wiser Guy, the reason I wanted to start it as sort of an extension is
Hmm.
I wanted to loop in more similar minded people in the industry. So, being in group fitness around here, I've met so many people in the city of Chicago, whether it
Hmm.
be in the nutrition field, in the life coaching, in the recovery field, doing like cryotherapy. And
Okay. Yeah.
I wanted, my goal is to bring these people together and create a community that has this similar feel to it, this similar
Okay.
authenticity, this tone where, they feel like they can speak freely and they don't have to, not freely,
Hmm.
but you know what I mean? Like be themselves
Sure.
and also create good content and give people, the stuff that they want to see. So
Hmm.
that's my goal with it. I've recruited some other Instagram people, influencers, if you will, and then other people in the fitness field to join in. So I'm very excited about
That's
that,
awesome.
to keep, spreading the word of wellness because, it's so important. And I think,
Hmm.
even growing up or even in high school, there's some stuff
Hmm.
that I wish I knew around like my health and wellness.
Yeah.
Obviously, I was more cognizant because of Crohn's disease, but there's so many benefits to it, that can help with, this how you structure your day and stress and even in your job search. There's
Hmm.
a lot of things that can help. So I love just spreading awareness and to whoever, wants to read it.
Awesome.
But
Who
yeah.
does your like design for your blog? Is that you, or do you like did you hire someone?
So I hired a graphic designer out
Okay.
of California to build the website. He made the logo, which is a kettlebell and a brain kind of
Hmm.
combined. If you guys go look at it, if you have any
You'll see
questions,
it.
just shoot me a DM. I'm an open book. But
Hmm.
yeah, he did that, and then all the other stuff is kind of me.
Okay.
But it's constantly evolving, and right now I'm just kind of getting content out there, being consistent with it,
Yep.
which I would say is another important thing for people with social media. Just be consistent, and don't really care about what anyone thinks. Just be
Yeah.
you. Throw it out there. There's gonna be I'm gonna have some haters. It's okay.
Hmm.
But as long as you're staying true to you and what you believe in,
Right.
that's the message. So.
Okay. Okay. So this is actually a really good tie-in to one of our final questions. But for students and alumni who are currently in the process of developing their own social media accounts for personal or professional brands, how do you recommend they get started? And what are some important lessons that you've learned along the way of having your two accounts? And you said this before, but like why is it so important to like keep your social media accounts like positive, clean, productive, like stuff like that?
Yeah. Well, it's so important because, as I said, there's a lot of people watching, and you just never know who's watching. And I mean, I'm a positive guy, and I
Yep.
believe it. I believe in positivity. So, kind of resonating that,
Right. That like
and
goes with your brand a little bit anyway. Yeah.
yeah, and there, if you're throwing up,
Hmm.
a negative message or anything like that, you just never know who's watching and who's vibing with that. So, anyways,
Hmm.
but in terms of advice, I would say, you know, there's a lot of platforms out there now. So there's Instagram, there's TikTok,
Hmm.
now there's Clubhouse, which I'm kind of getting
Right.
into. So it's kind of like on-demand podcasts.
Hmm.
There's Facebook. So kind of playing around, even LinkedIn as well, but even playing around with the different platforms to kind of
Okay.
see which one is best for your type of social media.
Okay.
Because
That's helpful.
I know some people in the industry that do fantastic on Facebook, but their message doesn't really hit on Instagram, or like they're doing
Hmm.
videos on TikTok and that doesn't really do well on another platform. So kind of playing around with
Interesting.
that to see where your message is best visually. If you're not a visual person, maybe this Clubhouse app where you like
Hmm.
talking is your answer. So kind of
Hmm.
playing around there, I think, is important. Then, as I said, just not being afraid of putting yourself out there. There was that time before I started where I think it was months where I was just so scared to put out a piece of content. Or I work in fitness, so I put like
Hmm.
a shirtless picture. It's
Right.
fitness. But even just doing that, I was so nervous about what people would say or what people would think. So I think just
Yep.
having that confidence in yourself, which DCDS just does a great job of instilling in people, in you, is just so important. Like, don't be afraid, just put yourself out there, and then just being consistent with it. So
Hmm.
um, obviously, your message is only going to get stronger with the amount of times that you put it out there. So being consistent and seeking out further knowledge just to keep learning.
Yeah.
So that's going to help with your consistency, is just putting more in your head that you can
Hmm.
offer to the world. So be a constant
Right.
learner. So important.
And also, it seems too like taking the time to do things correctly. So like exactly what you said, like you went out and got like additional certifications that help you have more knowledge. You actually found somebody to help you do your branding. You use a photographer for your Instagram. So if you're
Right.
able to do that, there's probably a few things too that you can start out by doing, even if you don't have like a big budget yet, or something like that that don't cost a ton of money that really can help you build your account.
Exactly. And I wouldn't worry about it being perfect too. Like
Hmm.
everyone, they want perfect right out of the gates,
Right.
and sometimes you just need to put stuff out there, get feedback on what is going on, and you can pivot on the fly. And
Hmm.
that's one other point I'll add is with feedback. So be open to receiving feedback. Like view it as a learning process
Hmm.
versus a judgment. I think that's so important in our growth, and in just your continued success, is being able to learn from feedback and change accordingly. So
Right.
that's so important in social media. But that's just one other nugget I
Right.
wanted to add in.
I love that. I think that's really
Yeah,
important.
yeah.
So, Cam, where do you see, this is our last question. So, where do you see your account, your
I
social
thought I
media
thought we
account
were I
going?
thought we were going till noon. I thought we were another half hour.
Well, you know what? We can come up with some other topics on the fly, but
All right.
where do you want your account and your blog to go in the future? Like, what are your goals for that?
Yeah. So, kind of as I touched on, is my goal is to bring in other people onto the platform to build a community there. So, other
Hmm.
fitness professionals, other wellness professionals, other nutrition professionals, to provide content and then
Hmm.
start building a community there. So, um, whether that develops, I love talking. So, whether that develops into like
We were going to sit here for an hour.
yeah, I had an hour booked with my secretary. I don't have a secretary. But whether it's no, I'm losing it. Podcast,
Hmm.
whether it goes there, I'm down for that. But I think just the more people I get involved, the bigger the message will become. And
Hmm.
obviously, I love working with people one on one as well.
Hmm.
So I do a lot of life coaching. So it's also a fantastic way where I've just been connected with others,
Yeah.
to sort of show them like, this is what I think. These are my thoughts, so that they can connect with my content when I can't physically speak with them,
Yep.
but then we can work together as well. So it's been a great avenue to find people to help too.
Yeah, I love it. Okay, so one final thing, as a life coach, what piece of advice would you give to this year's graduating class who has obviously been through an extraordinary time in school this past year and a half, dealing with lots of different challenges, but meeting them totally gracefully as Country Day students do? So what advice would you have for this graduating class as they are getting ready to go off to college?
When is graduation?
When, or when
Yeah,
is?
or when is graduation, I should say.
It's in June.
Okay, in June. Um, so I would say, you know, I've looked back at this past year, um, and there's a lot of what ifs, right? Like,
Hmm.
even if at school, like, say you weren't able to play a sport, or this was
Yeah.
canceled, or you had to go virtual. There's a lot of what ifs for me as well, like opportunities that maybe I could have had, or what this, but I look back at sort of how I've grown in other ways, whether it be like
Hmm.
seeking other certifications, or I've always wanted to do this website. Would I have
Hmm.
ever done it if I didn't have this potentially extra time? I don't know.
Hmm.
Probably not. So
Yeah.
I think, like, not looking back at your senior year as abbreviated, but rather how you grew in different ways,
Hmm.
and how you actually broadened your skill set in certain ways, and how
Yeah.
you can take that growing forward. Because there potentially are some changes with the way that learning happens, or your collegiate experience, that may require some of these skills going
Hmm.
forward that you've
Yeah.
learned. So really honing in on that. And as I said, that kind of ties in with just the growth mindset. Just keep going forward, keep positive. You got a loving community, a loving school with you guys, and
Hmm.
you're set up to do great things. So just keep it positive, and just look at, how far you've come in the past year and what you've gotten through. You're more resilient, you're a stronger person. You're going to take that with you into college, and you're going to do fantastic things. So that would be my message.
I love that, Cam. Thank you.
Yeah.
Okay, so if people want to find you on the internet, what accounts should they follow? And if they want to get in touch with you, how can they do that?
Yes. So my Instagram account is the one I'm on here now with. It's
Hmm.
at the Control Freak. Shouldn't be hard to find. Then at Wise and Grind is my blog. So please, like, shoot me a message, shoot me a DM, if you're interested in fitness, or just anything with wellness, or anything that we've discussed here today. Social media, I'm an open book. I'm here. So just let me know.
Awesome. Thanks, Cam.
Yeah.
This was so fun. We'll talk to
So
you
fun.
soon.
Yeah.
So fun.
Next time I get to interview you. How about that?
Okay, done.
Okay.
Okay, talk to you
All right.
later.
See ya, Annie.
Bye.
Bye.